inside the Fox 59 CBS 4 podcast studio. Welcome to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. I'm Dave Griffiths. Glad to have you here with us. Mike Chappell, Matt Adams joining me as always. Plenty to get to today on this Thursday as we tape the podcast. Waiting for the Colts to practice late tonight, have the one night practice of camp. A whole lot to talk about that's happened in camp. Plenty to go over with some national ponderings and writings and lists and tiers for quarterbacks. A certain Colts legend making his way to Canton this weekend. And also a new deal, which is where we begin today on the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. As Jonathan Taylor and the Colts reported this morning, has agreed to a 2-year extension worth $44 million, $39 million of those guaranteed. Maximum contract value, $47 million based on incentives. This was first reported by ESPN, confirmed by our very own Mike Chappell sitting here across from me. So, Chappell, we'll begin with you on this and your thoughts on the deal getting done at this time in this manner of where the Colts are as a franchise.
One thing, and we've gone back and forth on this, is with such an uncertain future of head coach and GM, because you don't know how the season goes, we at least approach, well, maybe it makes sense not to re-sign guys into the future with JT and Grover and Quentin Nelson. But then what kind of a message are you sending to your team if you don't? And Jonathan Taylor is their best player. We could argue Sauce Gardner, but we had such a small sample size. But he's been your guy. Carly Ursay, Gordon called him a pillar. That's why his picture's on the side of the stadium. So to get it done, you kind of I've had discussions with folks with the team, and everyone indicated this was going to happen. And the fact that JT was practicing spoke volumes, because Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs were not practicing. Robinson until he got his deal. So kudos. And it's funny because he said he wanted to be a Colt for life. Well, he'll be a Colt
for 2 more years.
I don't think he'll see the 2028 season. I just don't. That's a long time for a running back. But what this does, he's here this year, he's here next year, and he can set the franchise rushing record this year. He's like 1650.
Yes. So it would be a heck of a season, but he could do it.
Well, but he was headed there last year.
He's had a heck of a season there before.
And he's had 1,800 yards. He was headed to 16 and maybe 17 last year before things happened. So what's interesting is how you would argue where he ranks in the league among backs. Top 5 without question. And then if you want to take his entire game into it, top 3. But kudos to JT, and good for the Colts to get this done.
Yeah, I think your point is well met that he's the best player, so what message would it send if you don't sign him? And he's been a good representative of the team in the community, et cetera, et cetera. He's on Lucas Oil Stadium, pillar of the franchise. Like, my only hesitation, and I really like JT. He's a great player and a great running back. But the vast majority of NFL teams that win Super Bowls are not built around a star running back. They're just not in the past 20 years. Like, some have been. Saquon Barkley a couple years ago with Philadelphia is the most recent obvious example. Last year, even with Seattle, like, you had Kenneth Walker III, who was really good. It was kind of split between him and Zach Charbonnet there for Seattle. But they also had JSN and a pretty good quarterback over there in Sam Darnold, and one of the best defenses in the league that were able to back it all up. So, like, is that reason not to sign JT? I don't know about that. So I think there's reasonable hesitation among Colts fans in this deal, but there's also reasonable optimism. So I think it's one of those things, Matt, that it kind of reveals your preconceived notions about Jonathan Taylor or the Colts and how you fall on this deal, because I think there's good points to be made on both sides, whether, hey, this was a deal that needed to get done, or On the vast other side of it, hey, if he's a pillar of the franchise, well, sometimes pillars need to be torn down if you want to build something greater. So that's kind of where I'm falling right now between those. That's a hard way to put it. Like, I'll be direct, but that's kind of the whole spectrum.
Are you saying that it doesn't matter whether you live or die, the game's going to live on? Because that's what we heard last time that Jonathan Taylor had wanted a contract extension. So at least we're not doing that this time. But
right.
like you said, Dave, I could see a little bit of both ways. There's some hesitation about this. This is an aging running back. I mean, he's only got a few years left in the tank. He's got they've used a lot of tread off Jonathan Taylor. He's had
after Wisconsin.
And even after Wisconsin, they used him a ton there. The Colts have used him 300-plus carries many, many times in his career as a Colt. But he's been productive. He has been one of the most visible, productive players the Colts have had. I'm glad to see him locked up. I don't know, and we'll have to see what the Spot Rack didn't have, like the details of the of the contract yet on like what the cap hit split's going to be. But I'm really interested to see what it's going to be on that third year, and if this is more like we're going to see how this year goes. We'll have him under contract for next season, and then what's going to happen in like that second year of the extension in 2028.
Yeah, all good points. And I think, like you said, Chap, you gave a hint that maybe 2028, that's a discussion further down the line, even though this deal would technically extend him to 2028.
This will be his seventh year, and the numbers and the research kind of gets muddled in my head. But only 2 Colts running backs have played 7 years with the team. And that's Edgerrin, who people forget, he signed a 7-year rookie deal back in '99, and Dominic Rhodes. So they traded Marshall Faulk when his contract was coming up. There was a lot of things that went into that with Bill Polian and Faulk whatever. And in Edgerrin, they didn't franchise him after his contract expired. So it's rare. Polian always used to say, it's better to let a running back leave a year too soon than a year too late. I have not seen a drop-off in Taylor's effectiveness, how he runs. He's been, knock on wood, ultra healthy recently. Wasn't even on the injury report one day last year. So what you mentioned, and you're right about building your franchise around a running back is dicey. This is where they are because they've not been able to solidify the quarterback spot. So that's kind of where you are. And we will have the same discussion with Quentin Nelson, probably a Hall of Fame guard. And what have you got? And that's not even remotely a shot at Quentin. So Quentin, please,
calm down.
I'm not saying that,
right?
Because when he gets a new deal, he'll reset the guard market.
Yeah,
and good for him. But when you don't have the quarterback, you kind of make do with. I was looking here real quick. Anyone who questions, and I'm not a Colt defender at all, I'm just stating facts, about Carl Yearsay Gordon's commitment to this franchise. Alec Pierce, $114 million.
It's good to just make that point too.
Daniel Jones, $88 million, and JT, $44 million. And a boatload of that is guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, and it all pivots around Daniel Jones.
For sure.
So, but it's again, this is what they've got. When you draft well, very well, and you've got the guard and you've got the running back, and even Michael Pittman, he wasn't an elite player, but he deserved a second contract. And by the way, this is Taylor's second extension. That's really rare for a running back. But again, you step back and he's earned it. Players don't always get what they earn, but he is, and we'll see how this thing plays out down the road.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a specific stat here since I kind of threw out a generic one, just how Super Bowl winners don't typically have great running backs. Over the past 18 years, how many times do you think a team has had a 1,000-yard rusher that has won the Super Bowl? 18 seasons.
I'm trying to think who the last one is. Is it Emmitt Smith?
Technically, strangely enough, the last 2 teams have had a 1,000-yard rusher to win the Super Bowl.
I was thinking about the last team, last player to lead the league in rushing.
Okay, it might have been Saquon 2 years ago in 2024 because he got 2,000. But that's the aberration.
Right. That's the aberration
completely. And you
right?
might be right. It could be Emmitt Smith before that. But the last 2 years, strangely enough, Kenneth Walker and Saquon have each topped 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
But before that, I guess the previous 16 years, only 3 times had a 1,000-yard rusher been on a Super Bowl team. 3 times in 16 years. Now, you could say, well, you can make the argument, well, maybe the scales are teetering the other way in the last 2 years, how they have Kenneth Walker and Saquon Barkley. But like the other three guys, you'd be hard-pressed to guess these 3 players from the past, other players from the past, like 20-ish years. One of them you might be able to get. The other 2, there's 0% chance that you would ever get. The one guy you might think of, if you went back enough NFL fans, would be Marshawn Lynch back in 2013 with the Seahawks. 1,257 yards that year. Another player, 2016 Patriots, LeGarrette Blount.
I wouldn't have got that one.
Had 1,161 yards in 2016. And then the last player who was a 1,000-yard rusher, believe it or not, with a Super Bowl team was Ray Rice with the 2012 Ravens. The last one of them. Exactly.
There's a name I've not heard in a long time.
For real, for a reason.
For
at the same time. And the lowest top ranked rusher. I found these stats so interesting.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
This was a team that ranked. This was the 2014 Patriots. Jonas Gray led the 2014 Patriots with 412 yards rushing. And that team
was the year
Super
that he
Bowl.
smoked the Colts, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had probably all of those 412 yards
Like
against the Colts.
140, 150 yards.
That's
It's
over here
unbelievable.
just nodding. He's like, yep, that happened.
Yep, that happened.
But that was the year that they had like 6 or 7 different running backs and all had like 300 or 400 yards. So they were actually like 18th in the league in rushing. They were a reasonable running team, but of course they had this guy named Tom Brady. So I mean, you look at all those teams that still won, like Ray Rice in 2012 with the Ravens. That was when Joe Flacco just had the crazy postseason,
crazy year,
and also still have that defense there in Baltimore. The Seahawks, like Marshawn Lynch, great defense, and Russell Wilson. Tom Brady with the Patriots. Saquon Barkley was otherworldly that year, and the Eagles had a great defense. And then Kenneth Walker last year we talked about. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm sitting here saying the Colts shouldn't re-sign Jonathan Taylor because running backs don't win Super
really?
Bowls.
Because that sounds.
I know it sounds kind of like what I'm hinting
Dave.
at, but I think that the good counter to that is what I've kind of fallen on myself is like not re-signing Jonathan Taylor would be cutting off your nose to spite your face. It'd be saying like, oh, I don't think that this always happens, so like I'm gonna get rid of this really good player and try to build elsewhere. Well, you are able to build this way. Like this is possible. Like this is not something that's never been done before. You just have to be able to have the right people involved. You have to have smart people. You have to have good people at different positions. And like the quarterback really, really helps Mike Chappell.
Yep.
And Daniel Jones last year was leading the Colts to the #1 scoring offense in the NFL before he got hurt. I think so much it falls on the Colts defense. Like all these teams, these Super Bowl winning teams have good defenses and needs to just take a step forward. So I sit here saying, oh, there's not that many teams that have won with 1,000-yard rushers, but at the same time, like the blueprint is there. And I think that's the blueprint that Chris Ballard has always liked. Like strong in the trenches play, like a quarterback that is not ruining your life for you, and controlling the flow of the game.
And because of that, the Colts have controlled the AFC South for decades. For the decade that he's been there, and they have been to the playoffs so many times in the last few years.
So yes, you could argue the execution has not been on point for the idea, but you get the picture of the idea.
It's interesting, that we're at this point now with the running backs getting some good deals because just a handful of seasons ago, we were like, does an NFL running back even have any value? Nobody wanted to keep him. Nobody wanted to pay him. Even like these top-tier good players.
Saquon's the perfect example, I think,
Saquon's a good example, and then he goes over to Philadelphia, and then people are like, well, maybe these guys do have a role in the offense, and maybe they can be the backbone of a good team. And I think with JT, it's also important to say, as Mike noted, we have seen no drop-off from JT from his rookie year. Like last year was one of the strongest years he's had. And so I think it's worth another season or two of investment in that, even with the knowledge that with running backs, unfortunately, when the drop-off comes, it comes sharply and swiftly. But then you've got your guys like Derrick Henry as well. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's a whole different beast, but he has had a really long, productive running back career. Is Taylor going to repeat that? I don't know necessarily that he will. He's a different style runner and all that, but that's another thing to kind of consider.
I'm intrigued to see the next couple years of Jonathan Taylor, to say the least.
We'd love to see it relatively injury-free if you could, just to see.
totally.
That's the key.
Just
That's
to
the key.
see. And again, it's the numbers are really crazy. He's averaged 90.5 yards per game in his career. That's 5th all time.
All time.
And the people ahead of him are, gold jacket guys. Jim Brown and
Syracuse.
Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis and Eric Dickerson, I believe it is. So, again, it's funny, that includes a couple of games where he barely played. Remember the fiasco in Minnesota that one year? He played like 2 plays.
2 plays and got hurt. Yeah.
Right. And when he came back from that, missed the first 4 games, I believe it was, and he played very sparingly against, I think it was Tennessee.
Right. He was kind of ramping up to get ready for the season,
So,
basically.
and I'm sure all running backs have, well, there was this game, but
Right.
But again, it's when he's on the field, is he a great blocker? No. He gives effort, but he's average at best.
Is he an elite pass catcher? No.
No, but boy, you get him on that swing pass, and he's going to hurt you.
Yep, for sure.
But as a pure running back, I'm not sure how many guys are better than he is.
Yep.
But so again, there are very few guys who can do all 3. I think Edge was better certainly better as a blocker.
Yeah, he was one of the most complete backs ever been.
And better as a receiver, even though he wasn't here in the offseason to work on that. But again,
Famously.
they've now invested over $250 million in 3 players. So hopefully it bears fruit, because if not, somebody's inheriting some big contracts next year.
Yep, no doubt. So, I mean, the ideal situation is things work out this year and Chris Ballard keeps these contracts moving forward, you know? So, like, in some point, you have to plan like your plans are going to succeed.
Right.
If you plan like your plans are going to fail, then you're done.
We're not going to sign anyone ever,
Don't do Jonathan Taylor.
Exactly.
Right.
He's going to get hurt. Well, he has been hurt. Well, he's going to get hurt. The odds are but you can't. That's a very flawed way to do a roster.
It is. But if I'm Quentin Nelson, I say, hey, you know what the best way to have Jonathan Taylor healthy is?
Right.
Me.
Who's going to block for him on the left side?
Sign me. Like, I'll keep him healthy as long as I'm standing here.
But there has to be a balance.
Exactly.
You can't sign all these guys.
I know. Eventually, you have to make a choice. Tough choices.
You can make the cap numbers work. You can really do crazy things with the cap, but then it's cash. And again, we'll see.
Well, they sold Jim's collection, so they have some cash.
Was it about $100 million?
Yeah, exactly.
So
that'll go like this in the NFL.
When you're talking like a $50 million signing bonus.
Yeah, that's
and
gone, man.
If you do Quentin and then Buckner's, you get into a lot of different things. But like I say, this is a case of where they're rewarding a player for what he's done, what he is, and what they think for another year or 2 he can be.
Mm-hmm. So Jonathan Taylor, 300 carries this year. We're all stamping it. That's like bare minimum, as long as he stays healthy. And the plan is for that to be the case next year. And, of course, the plan is for Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard to be back next year.
Right.
And this is all these things are just tied together in this tangled web that we weave. But the latest thread is Jonathan Taylor's new contract that takes him through 2028, perhaps. Let's get into the kicking competition at camp a little bit, because this is probably the most important competition between 2 players vying for a starting role on this team. And only one will be on the roster on
not gonna carry
week
2
1. You don't carry
No,
2
you
kickers. It's not
can't.
going to happen.
And you can't hide one on the practice squad.
No, somebody's going to get snatched up, because kickers, as we saw last year with Colts and in previous years all over the NFL, like, kickers start bad, and then you say there's no patience, none, for kickers. Like, it's not like, oh, we're gonna get this wide receiver. He's got a case of the drops. We're gonna ease
we'll let
in.
him work through it.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's not how it works here.
They tried that with Vinny in 2019, injury
playoffs.
related. How'd that right?
Yeah.
Right.
I really think that it
Well,
did.
it cost him 3 games.
Yep.
Yep. But Spencer Schrader, Blake Grupe are the 2 that are duking it out for that starting role. Schrader last year was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Month in September, led the league in points scored. Then he got hurt and missed the rest of the season. Really unfortunate break for the young man, and who is a great young man too. Like, really personable, very great with us doing stories. So bad vibes all around when that happened.
Right. Yeah.
But after that, the Colts turned to Michael Badgley. And again, patience wore out because there were a couple missed kicks that were
Extra points, man.
Yeah,
PATs
PATs that were bad. And they brought in, all they did was bring in Blake Grupe, who had missed 8 field goals in 11 games.
They cut him because he was ineffective, right?
Yep. And came here, and all he did was go 21 for 21 extra points and field goals, including a 60-yarder. So he's my size, and he kicks the ball 60 yards, which is still the strangest thing in the world to me, that you see a guy like this with the power that he has in his leg. Because all the kickers that you see in the NFL, they're 6'2", lean and mean, like Spencer Schrader's a perfect example. Like he's the prototypical what you would expect a kicker to be. Blake Grupe is the guy you expect to see on the soccer pitch next door playing for Indy 11 as Messi running around the middle of the field trying to just weave his way through everybody.
Or apparently doing live hits for Fox 59 News.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be standing right there like this. Hey, I'm out here at Grand Park doing whatever. So far, in front of us, Blake Grupe has been perfect. I have not seen him miss one kick.
He's 12 for 12. We had him 11 for 11. We must have missed one. But he's 12 for 12.
So you missed one, but he didn't.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Nice bat. Well played. Spencer's missed a couple, and when he has
9 of 12.
9 of 12. When he has missed, he's hooked them to the left.
Now is that a mechanic thing from his rehab?
From rehab.
Yep.
Right.
But anyway, like camp stuff is one thing. Special teams coordinator Brian Mason says we don't see all their kicks; they do more. So, and behind the scenes, Grupe has missed some, is what Mason said.
At least one.
Yes, it was one. So
there was this one time.
Yeah, exactly. Like the most important kicks are always the ones where something's put on the line. And for me in camp, those are the ones that are public, the ones in front of us and in front of the fans. And also in the preseason, like when it's actual game scenario. Those are going to be the most important kicks. The one behind the scenes are all well and good. But you've got to do it when the pressure's on as a kicker. And if you want to somehow put pressure on in the preseason, it's hard to do it, like to really replicate game-like scenarios. But like we've seen Schrader do great in great game scenarios because, like I said, AFC Special Teams Player of the Month last year. We've seen Grupe be great in game scenarios. Perfect last year when he came here and got the operation all shored up in front of him, which is pretty important. Pretty important.
I think
Obviously,
this is the 9th year with Rigo and Luke. Together.
That's crazy that unit has been together for 9 years. But
that's been the Colts' history for the most part. They find those two guys and keep them.
Yes, for sure. I think this is an intriguing matchup, but right now, like I'm leaning toward Grupe. As much as I like Schrader, as impressive as he was to start off the season last year, like if you don't miss a kick in front of the public, and if you don't miss a kick in the preseason, you can't let him go. That's kind of where I'm falling with this chap.
They will cut a quality kicker who will be kicking this year.
Right. Be probably snatched up immediately.
There's no question. And then you just hope that Grupe, again, when they signed him after Badgley kept missing PATs, he had missed the most kicks in the league.
Yeah.
8. And I think that number still led the league, although he didn't miss any here. So that's the thing that's impressive. And then when you go back and look, remember the Seattle game? Mm-hmm. They take the lead with a minute to play, less than a minute to play, and on his, I think it was a 60-yarder, franchise record.
Yep.
And then the defense couldn't
stop. Bad special teams too. Of course, after that we had big kick return and then special.
It was the perfect storm of all that we've seen from the team.
So that's what we're going to see. I think what we're going to see. I think they both kick tonight. I think there's both
better be under the lights. Yeah, I mean, shoot.
And then the important thing will be the preseason games and how Brian Mason wants to break it down. He talked about maybe a half and a half for each guy, which is okay as long as each gets the opportunity in that half. Maybe it makes more sense to let one kick in a game, and then the next game the other guy kicks, and then the third week whatever.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
So, but it all depends on whether you get the chances, but. Again, it's not a problem. It's a great issue to have. And I'm leaning towards Grupe right now because he hasn't missed and he's not the guy coming back from knee surgery.
Yeah, I think that those are the two obvious things in his favor, Matt. As much as I've said before, as much as I like Schrader, like if someone doesn't miss a kick, you can't let him go.
Yeah, and it's funny to me that he went for New Orleans and just could not hit.
Nope.
He comes here, and obviously you've got that
cannot
professional
miss.
operation between Luke Rhodes and Rigoberto Sanchez, and then suddenly it improves Groupie as a kicker.
Right.
And he's with a guy that he's familiar with too, and Brian Mason, kind of reunited there, and it's really worked out well for him. And that Seattle game was one of those things that you could not believe that you were watching, that the Colts were actually in this game because they had taken the quarterback off the street, essentially, who had, a legendary guy, but he hadn't played in years. Shouldn't have been in that game, but they were, because they did just enough on offense, and they had that solid kicking game from Groupie that's always going to stand out in my mind. And not to say anything against Schrader, because he came through with them in the clutch too. Now, I know that he got a mulligan in the Broncos game, but he still nailed that second chance to win what was at that point a really considerable upset in the NFL.
Yeah, probably between that and the Chargers game, certainly the Colts' two best wins last year.
Right.
And Denver, I would probably lean toward Denver because I think Denver was a slightly better team, just personally, and certainly a better defensive team than the Chargers were. But so we'll keep our eye on that.
This matters. It's not like, kickers. No, this matters.
Like every time a kicker's on the field, points are on the line.
Right.
So that's pretty important. Like it's an important position. And as we saw in 19 with certain other legend here, which we'll get to a little bit.
I was going to say, and what you want from the position is consistency.
Yeah,
And that's what you're seeing. That's what we're seeing publicly from Groupie right now. Now, maybe in practice when we're not watching, he's bouncing off the uprights or he's hitting the crossbar. But from what we're seeing, consistency, it's a good operation.
Right.
Brian Mason, I think, deserves a ton of credit for bringing Blake Groupie. Wow, I don't know why I keep saying Bailey sometimes. Like it's just in my head.
Do you know Bailey Groupie?
I must or
you
something.
go to school with a Bailey
I must
Groupie?
have, yeah. But Blake Groupie, like that's putting yourself on the line when you say, "Hey, this is the guy that I want." When he's
exactly. He's missed 8
field
kicks.
goals, he's missed the most in the league in 11 games, and I can imagine Chris Ballard sitting there like, "Really? Is that really who you want?"
Are you sure about that,
Sure about
Brian?
that? I don't know about that, no, but it turned out to be the right decision. So, and I'm confident that that's a Brian Mason call, like a Zionsville zone. Shout out to Brian Mason for making the right call there. On the other side of the defense, the idea this year in the linebacking core was to kind of tear it down and start from scratch. And we've seen a whole lot of scratching around at linebacker because there have been changes left and right
5 or 6 guys have worked with the first group.
with who've moved in and worked and played.
Right.
And so it brings up the question of the green dot, which is the person who communicates with the coaches. C.J. Allen, the Colts' second-round pick out of Georgia, is kind of thought to be that guy because it's usually a middle linebacker guy. There have been a lot of questions already asked of him, of Lou Anarumo, of doing this. So, this has kind of been a significant-ish storyline throughout the past couple months of this offseason. Well, at camp just this past week, we've seen a little bit more green dot work from Cam Bynum in the secondary. Now, Bynum is basically always on the field himself, and that's probably one of the biggest points in his favor, to have the green dot. And if C.J. Allen's going to be in and out of the lineup in whatever role he's supposed to play, you're going to work other linebackers in based on scenarios and where you are on the field and all that. Well, Cam Bynum's probably not coming off too much, so why shouldn't he get the green dot to be back there and to talk and to lead the defense that way? So is this anything bad that C.J. Allen is doing? Is this anything good that Cam Bynum is doing? Is this anything that we should read into, or kind of just that, well, he's on the field all the time, so maybe he's just the one that makes most sense to have it out there?
This may be, because again, all during the OTAs and all that, it was C.J. Allen.
Right.
And they kept praising how well he's got it. He did this at Georgia.
Right.
So it's not an issue. And maybe the fact that he missed a couple of practices set that back a little bit. Because it was strange, too, because Lou Anarumo said, well, taking the green dot away, if that's what you want to say, it lets him concentrate more on the position. But we're 2 weeks into camp, so maybe this does change. And I don't think C.J. Allen is going to come off the field a hell of a lot. I really don't. I think he's going to be on there probably not as much as Cam Bynum. So I don't know that would be the issue, but maybe they're just trying to let him play the position now, which is probably more complicated than it was at Georgia. And like you've mentioned here, is that Von Bell did it for Anarumo in Cincy. And it's funny because he said, well, the dot guy, the middle linebacker, is always looking back to the safety to make sure whatever. Well, in this case, you're taking the middleman out of there and it goes right to the safety. It's a thing just because you've got a green dot guy. Communication's huge.
Massive, yeah.
You know, we've seen too many games or too many plays where guys they point at each other. Well, they must not have got the message. And there's no question Cam Bynum could do it. It's funny, he's been playing a ton up close to the line of scrimmage.
He has, yeah.
Not as a linebacker, but they're leaving A.J. Halsey now back deep. So we'll see where this goes. But it's interesting. They're just trying to if this doesn't work, we've got a guy that can do it at a good level. I think that's where we are right now.
Mm-hmm. They've done quite a good bit of blitzing in this in this camp,
right.
like which as a guy who grew up watching the Philadelphia Eagles and Jim Johnson, like legendary defensive coordinator who blitzed.
Used to be here.
Yeah, he did used to be here even before that. Like that's the only word he knew.
Right.
On
So he
defense
never
was
met a
blitz.
blitz he didn't
Exactly.
want to run, right?
And like you need good corners in order to do that, and he had that in Philadelphia. I mean, he had a couple of good guys.
Right.
Troy Vincent, one of them on one side, had a pretty good defensive back unit. And like Lito Shepard was there for a couple of years. Really good players at corner, and the Colts certainly have that now. And like you're going to leave your corners on an island if you're going to blitz.
Right.
And shoot, if you're paying this money to these cornerbacks, then go ahead and blitz.
Right.
And say earn your money. You know.
Right. And the blitzes come from the nickelback Wally, or it's come from linebacker. Betcher came in there and did that. So that's what's important is when the defense doesn't know where it's coming from.
Right.
But you're allowed to do that because you're not going to get that quick release from the outside. There have been times that it has been impossible for Daniel Jones to throw outside.
Yeah, no chance.
Which is exacerbated by Alec Pierce not being here. But the corners allow you to do so much when they got people like they have.
Lou Anarumo does say he's not taking the green dot away from C.J. Allen, by the way, to bring us back to the discussion we were having as we went from Cam Bynum to blitzing.
But it kind of feels like that from an outside observer,
right?
right?
Not taking it away. Well, are you really?
You just did.
Yeah, exactly.
You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think
you can work one day in training camp, or a week in like 2 or 3 practices like this, but then you have 20, 30 practices before the start of the season. And if you look at it in that context, it's not as big of a deal. But to us, like, we see it happen. We're like, well, is this going to continue?
Right.
And so we have to start asking the questions, and at least to lay the groundwork for if it continues. Like, well, it's kind of a big deal. So.
And it also could be, and it's Lou's defense. He can do whatever he wants with it. But it could be also that when they played last year, they did have Zaire Franklin, super experienced team captain guy there that you felt was going to be able to communicate those things. And maybe he's wanted to give it to Bynum, or a safety as he had in the past. I just don't know.
Yeah, he did give it to Von Bell when he was in Cincinnati, so for a time at least there. So
and especially as he mentioned this week, if he's spending that very precious time with his green dot guy, talking all about where the safety should be, that seems kind of inefficient on the other hand, too.
Yeah.
Just cut out, like you said, cut out the middleman.
You only get like 15 seconds to get
15 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, it's quick. So, all right, something to keep a watch on if you're heading out to Colts camp tonight at Grand Park or even over the next couple weeks.
One thing we'll say, this will be posted before tonight, is keep track of the weather. If the weather gets nasty, they'll they'll go indoors, which will mess up all their post.
Yeah.
Because they have a big plan for tonight. They want to do fireworks and all that stuff tonight. I hope it holds.
Yeah.
The Weather Authority, not quite sure right now what the deal is going to be tonight.
So follow us online, fox59.com, cbs4indy.com to stay tuned with that. If you're watching, of course, on this Thursday, October. I wish it was October. August 6th. Yeah, exactly. Not quite there. Adam Vinatieri's journey to Canton is complete this weekend. Perhaps the greatest kicker in NFL history, certainly the most prolific one, will be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Half his career with the Colts, half with the Patriots, Super Bowl champion over and over and over again. Important kicks, vital to NFL history over and over and over again, and was a linchpin in the Colts getting their Super Bowl championship in 2006. He came in his first year, boom, Super Bowl. Certainly one of the missing pieces on that roster. Respected by everyone in the locker room, everyone in the league. And in a case that took 1 year didn't get a first-year ballot.
Special teams, kickers.
As Mike Chappell sneers opposite me here in our studio. But finally, Chappell exactly where he deserved and where we all expected him to be eventually.
Yeah, I mean, again, we just talked about the kicking situation and how you change them and you have very little tolerance. He played 24 years, and you know, you said half his career. Well, it was 10 in New England and 14 here.
Right.
I think only 2 or 3 players in franchise history have played more seasons than Vinatieri. I think Reggie and Unitas maybe, or games played. So that's what's incredible. And I was fortunate for a story I posted today. He played 24 years, and 21 of them he had either the number 1 overall pick or Tom Brady.
At quarterback, you mean.
Quarterback,
yes,
as a starting quarterback.
Yes.
It was like 305 of his games. It was like 90%.
Not too shabby.
You know, people forget that he came in and it was Drew Bledsoe. And they were pretty good. They
were.
That was a solid team. And then he goes from Bledsoe to Brady when Bledsoe got hurt, and then he comes here and it's Peyton and then Andrew Luck. So, you know, it goes hand in hand. Well, then he had the quarterbacks. Well, every time he went out there, points were on the board. Go back to the Super Bowl season in Baltimore, 15-6 against the Ravens, and it was 5 field goals.
Yep.
So I thought he should have gone in last year. I thought he had as clean a resume as anybody, but a few people felt obviously he's a kicker and we can't do that. So good for Vinny. Looking forward to talking to him on Saturday at the enshrinement. And one thing I asked Vinny this when we had lunch a while ago, and people, well, what do you go in as, a Colt or a Patriot? Well, you go in as a player.
Right.
And I said, the perception is that you're more of a Colt than you are a Patriot. And he basically said, you wouldn't be wrong. Things didn't go well at the end in New England. He really wanted to stay, and they weren't willing to meet his price. And he said, when I'm thinking about my options, what I want to do, he said, I thought about wanting to go south or to a dome. And then Bill Polian called him. And he said, I'm thinking dome.
Dome.
That offense and Peyton Manning with
yeah.
Reggie and Marv. And then defense, you had Freeney and Bob Sanders. He said, sign me up. So it'll be good to see him get in there on Saturday at noon. We've already got people over en route to Canton.
Yep, our Chris Hagan on the way there right now.
Right, there's an availability, say it's Thursday, right?
Yes,
There's
today,
an availability at like 1 or 2 o'clock. And then there's one of the things I've gone to in the past, and I doubt I do it this year, it's the gold jacket ceremony, which it's downtown Canton on Friday night, and most of the living Hall of Famers are there, and they present these guys with their gold jacket, and it's really a cool thing. And then the ceremony on Saturday, and then what's become a tradition, the Ursays will have a post-ceremony party for them. They've done this for all those guys, and Carly's going to extend that. And by the way, she's presenting him, which is a good honor for her and the team. So well deserved.
Yeah, I told this podcast, Matt, where I told the Pat McAfee story about like the focus.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so. Like I've been in this room too much and doing too many different.
Yeah, no, because we talked about Vinny
Yes.
and because I had talked about the Baltimore game
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
like,
That's right.
they don't win a
Yep.
Super Bowl without Vinatieri.
Right.
They couldn't get in the end zone that game
Right.
if he doesn't hit those 5 kicks, and some of them were not easy kicks
One was
either.
a 50-yarder.
Yeah, and they needed it late because they needed to make it so that a 2-point conversion could tie the game or
Right.
win the game. For the Ravens, that was a huge game for him.
And look, if you miss one of those, like the 50-yarder, that is such a big momentum swing, like a
Absolutely.
huge one. Like
Yeah,
it's
field position.
You could look at that and say, "Oh, the Ravens weren't doing anything; they only scored 6 points." Well, they could have if they had
Right.
gotten the ball at the 50-yard line just like that, and were going the other way for sure. So, like, so much on the line in those kicks and those
I
scenarios.
still remember it, and things kind of stick in your mind is during that game when Vinny's lining up to kick, and then they show Tony Dungy on the sideline. And every time he kicked, he mouthed the word money.
Yep.
Because he just knew it. That's what Peyton said. He said the thing that was so impressive about Vinny is all he said was, we get to the ball on the other 40, and we've got points. He said that sort of frees you up on that 3rd and 7
Yeah.
to not take a chance, but don't take a chance because if we don't convert it, we're going to get 3 points.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy that This is a guy at a position, without question, teams have the least patience with. And he lasted 24 years. The last year wasn't a good year.
Right.
He'll be the first to admit it with the knee injury.
But you can forget it like that. Like you can forget it like this if you're a
right.
Vin Terry fan or you're a Colts fan. There's no hanging on to that one at all. Like it's
What
done.
you mean the year that he missed the kicks and they missed the playoffs because he missed
It's
the
gone.
kicks?
It's done, Matt. No more. Shame on you.
I mean, honestly, really, when you look at the career, you don't think about that. I think of the Super Bowl kicks. That's the first thing that comes to mind because those were
They're in the Super Bowl.
the Super Bowl, biggest stage you could have, just ice in his veins and nails both those kicks. You think about the Oakland kicks against the Raiders in the snow game.
The snow game.
You know,
the Tuck game.
Yeah, the Tuck Rule game.
The Tuck Rule, and then I think about the Baltimore Ravens game for the Colts in that one because they needed him to win that game. It was a good performance by the defense. The offense did just enough, but they don't win it without Vinatieri there at kicker.
No doubt.
And again, the year before the season ends with Mike Vanderjag's kick to Terre Haute.
Yeah, still waiting for that one to land.
I do want to touch quickly, like say, Drew Brees is also going into the Hall of Fame, and he has a certain big following here in Central Indiana too for his time with the Purdue Boilermakers and going to the Rose Bowl with them and Joe Tiller era and all that. So
He was pretty good.
Yeah, and I know, and then Colts fans also maybe Drew Brees. It cost them that second Super Bowl, but
It stung. It stung a little bit less for me as a being from the state. Drew Brees was on the other end of that.
Like if someone's going to beat you, it might as well.
Might as well be your guys.
Who
and
was
then
the corner that got him? Tracy Porter.
Tracy Porter from IU.
From IU. So, but no, it was in Brees. I still say that's a Hank Basket game.
Yeah,
recover the onside kick.
Just boom.
And you don't have any question about it after that, right?
We're not talking about it, but that's the way the ball bounces. It's oblong. It is not a circle.
Right.
And even sometimes, if you watch the World Cup, circle-ish balls can kind of fly strangely too. But anyway, Drew Brees, like for me as a short guy, like I love short guys being successful. It warms the cockles of my heart, as Jim Harbaugh told us
undersized
one
guy
time.
can't play in this league.
Exactly.
Will never be an NFL quarterback type of thing.
But everything except arm strength, he had it 95 to 100. Like his ability, like read a defense, like put the ball in the right spot before the snap, movement in the pocket, like everything. Accuracy was all there, and proved it over and over again.
And what happens if the Miami Dolphins clear him on the physical?
I loved listening to him talk about that decision because there are so many great reasons to go to Miami.
Right.
Like he goes on the owner's yacht and he's like, they're wining and dining him. He goes to New Orleans and it's after Katrina and the
city's been devastated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And something told him to go there. And boy, what a great decision by him.
And he embraced that.
He did. He completely did.
Right.
And helped change that place.
Right.
Was a Walter Payton Man of the Year, if I'm not mistaken, down there as well. So that's our quick shout out to Drew Brees as well, going into the Hall of Fame. Several others, Larry Fitzgerald, who was one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen in person. Like I saw him when he played at Pitt, when I was at Syracuse as like a freshman or a sophomore, and he was so good in college. I mean, he was great in the pros too, but in college it was stupid, man. And like Syracuse wasn't that great when I was there, to be perfectly fair. At the first couple of years, we were like 6-6 team, and then after that it was 1-10, 0-11, terrible. But Larry Fitzgerald, a great player. I don't know the rest of the Hall of Fame class off the top of my head. I might mention it before we wrap up today, but I'll move on here. Kind of back to a Colts theme, and
I think Luke Kuechly's
in this class.
Isn't that
one of the younger Hall of Famers ever enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and was like a really good middle linebacker for his stretch of time in the league for sure. Back to the Colts, Daniel Jones being moving up in the Athletics quarterback tier list before this season. Moving up from what they call their fourth tier of starting quarterbacks, which is kind of labeled as unproven players or veterans who aren't full-time starters, to a third tier, which is legit starter who needs a strong running game, low volume, drop back passing game. That's at least how they label it.
That's how they're doing their criteria.
Saying, not what I am saying specifically. That's what they are saying. But If you're looking at the quarterbacks across the league, there's an obvious first tier, and their first tier: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow. It's pretty hard to argue with those. It's pretty hard to put Daniel Jones among them right now. If you want, we're Daniel Jones, but the second tier and the third tier, there's probably some wiggle room between some of the quarterbacks.
It's
on
like
both of
Lamar
those.
Jackson.
But,
he dropped out of tier 1 from last year, and Matthew Stafford moved up into tier 1. Those guys are both pretty good.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford in the vein of when's he going to start to drop off? Like we were talking about Jonathan Taylor earlier, but boy, hasn't shown any real signs.
And Lamar's
as long as he's healthy.
An elite quarterback in the league.
For sure. Daniel Jones listed number 21 on the Athletics list between C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. I think that's a reasonable spot for him right now, but at his best, he can be better. It's just a matter of, hey, you got to stay healthy and be at your best all the time, chap.
If you look at the guys, and I thought the same way you did. First I thought, well, that's pretty low, but then you look at the guy. You look at
the guys above him, and you're like,
Aaron Rodgers. I think Jones, when healthy, is better than Aaron Rodgers. Bo Nix, Bo Nix probably is a better. Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold. There's nobody I'd say, oh, this guy shouldn't be there.
Yeah, this guy's a joker. No, there's some good quarterbacks in this league, Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers is the only one I would question because, well, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan, but no, I get it. It was a big jump. I think Jones made the biggest jump from the previous year.
He made the biggest. It's weird that how they phrased it on The Athletic. He made the biggest jump in terms of votes, but he didn't make the biggest jump on the list. Caleb Williams actually made the biggest number slot jump.
But one of the comments was from a defensive coordinator or a general manager where they said basically Jones is in the exact right place.
The Colts are perfect for him.
Really with Steichen.
Yep.
But then with what they've got around him, which they've got a top 10 offensive line, they do. They've got a top 5 running back. They've got a top 5 tight end. I don't think it's out of the question to put.
The question is receiver.
Yep.
The question is receiver.
Big question mark.
Especially without Pierce-Stop
circle.
playing. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Back to that discussion again. No, but another one defensive coordinator. Daniel Jones is interesting. I think he showed that when you are not protected and you do not have all the answers given to you, it is hard to operate at this level of football, which
That's
is a bit of a
shot at the Giants,
Exactly.
Yep,
a total shot at the New York Giants and Brian Daboll over there, which like Daboll did wonders with Josh Allen, and that's why he got the job with the Giants. So, and that's another thing that shows you the NFL is hard to operate. Because you take this guy who's one of the rawest quarterbacks to ever come out and be drafted in the first round. Colts fans know a thing or two about that. But anyway, you take that guy, you mold him into a perennial All-Pro, and then you go to the Giants and Daniel Jones, you just aren't able to figure it out for some reason. It's weird. Like the NFL is weird. And that's why when you find guys like Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones who work so well with each other, breaking them apart is a really bold decision to do something like that. Because you look at what they can do together and you say, well, that's good enough. Like now we got to get the right pieces around them, and so you want to keep those guys together and just fill in around them. So,
that's why again that's why you invest $88 million over 2 years in Jones, not thinking, well, he's been hurt and he's only finished one season, he's come off the Achilles. We saw what he was when he's healthy, and that's how you have to sort of move forward and build your roster.
Yeah, Matt also makes the note here in our notes that Daniel Jones received 8 Tier 2 votes on this, which is more than he's received over his entire career combined.
That shows you the weight that people put on those first 10 games.
Right.
Yeah.
They noticed the improvement in the kind of professional offense that they were running here in Indianapolis, and it had an impact on people. And they are like, well, maybe the broken bone in the leg and the Achilles, that really had more to do with kind of the drop-off than anything Daniel Jones did out on the field.
It goes back to you got to stay healthy. And like that's hard to do in the NFL when you have grown men chasing you down.
And there's no question marks as to whether or not he can, but also, as you said, we've seen what it can be when he is, and you you got to take that bet.
Right.
Yep, I agree. Some other camp notes that we'll touch on before we wrap up today on the Colts Blue Zone podcast. If you're watching on Fox 59 Sports Now or Fox 59 Now, we appreciate that. Also available on YouTube, and you can get us subscribed, get us delivered to your podcast listening device as soon as we drop every week. Full contact has started up this week with Monday and Tuesday's practices, both in full pads. As Grover Stewart says, time to choke some dudes out there and really get physical. Anthony Richardson has dropped, I think, bobbled 7 snaps in training camp, Chap, so far, as you just sigh and shake your head.
It's a thing.
It is. Like, it's legitimately a thing.
And remember that was one of the things that he talked about, was it in December or January? Well, I'm still having trouble with things up close.
Right.
Well, it seemed like he still
With
is.
the eyesight, yes.
So we'll see, but it's not a good thing. I mean, there are certain prerequisites for the position.
One of them.
Fielding a snap is a
Fielding,
pretty high,
it's
important one.
probably high on the list. Boy, but when he gets it, he still throws the ball well. It's got zip and
That deep ball, man, like it's like he threw 1 or 2 this week that are just right on the money. It makes you go,
it's that tease factor.
bottle that.
Right, bottle that. I
Yeah.
wish you could, but then he's been off target. And again, is at some point you are who you are, and he's played 3 seasons and 350 passes, and he's dead last among quarterbacks during that stretch. Dead last in accuracy, and he'll never be a 60% thrower. But if you get 55 in the big plays, you probably live with it. But with kicker being the most important, consequential battle, the most interesting is what they're going to do at backup quarterback. And I don't think we're going to know until the first 2 preseason games.
No, the Colts have paid him a bonus right now, so his
Right.
salary this year is now at $1.1, I believe,
I
million
think that's what
dollars
I read, yeah.
reportedly.
There's a $4 million roster bonus.
More likely to be traded now that they've paid it that $4 million, perhaps. And also, if he gets some run in these preseason games and plays
Or
well,
somebody
that would
gets
do.
hurt
Yep,
somewhere else.
and that would be helpful
Because
for him.
it's relatively low risk
yeah,
for the team that would acquire him.
And as much as the team remains enthralled by the potential, they still like Riley Leonard. They really do.
They do, yes.
But again, it's what, as we've argued, it's the debate on one quarterback has a certain floor that you know, but a lower ceiling, and the other quarterback's got an incredible ceiling, but the floor is
Right.
in the basement.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think we'll have a better idea after the first 2 preseason games.
I think their goal now with that group is to have a backup quarterback. And Anthony Richardson's goal is to be a starter now.
Right.
And Riley Leonard, like, I think backup is a good target for him right now. Like, if he could be Chase Daniel and be a backup quarterback for 10 years in the NFL, that's a pretty good gig for
good
him.
career.
Like, and he should aim higher,
Matt
personally.
Hasselbeck at the end of his career.
Exactly. Yes, completely. Yeah, good comparison.
One
Nick
thing we-
Foles. The
Right.
one known
Well,
to
and
legends.
one thing we haven't seen, and if they're going to do it, you'd see it in practice, is they've not shown any gadgety stuff with AR.
True. They have not.
And I can't believe you do that in walkthroughs and then not show it in training camp, because you got to work on it.
Yeah.
So this is not going to. It doesn't appear that this is going to be a Taysom Hill type
No.
role for him. So, and I'm not sure how he would embrace that anyway, and that at some level matters.
Yep.
Whether the guy's up to doing that.
My final point about Anthony Richardson, I heard this on actually just listening to The Fan this week, the local radio here in central Indiana. Somebody was talking about, is Anthony Richardson going to be considered one of the biggest draft busts of all time? But he is 8-7 as a starter.
There's a good list of really crappy.
Exactly.
Draft picks.
I when I first heard the question, I said no. Just because he's done something in this league, and
remember
he's
Jamarcus
above
Russell.
500 as a quarterback,
Right.
which is crazy to me. But yeah, Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf, there's too many others that are disastrous.
Rick Meyer, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, Tim Couch was pretty bad.
Right.
No.
That's an argument you can make because you can do what you want with the numbers. 8-7 as a starter.
But like you said, 50%
Completion
completion percentage.
Well, in 4 of his games, he didn't finish.
Right. Yeah, it's fair.
At least 2 of the wins, Gardner Minshew came in and lit it up.
Yep.
They've not had too many more polarizing players than Richardson. You're either on board or you're like, I'll drive him out of town somewhere.
Take it myself.
So
I'll pay for the gas.
I will, and again, I think internally they're sort of torn on what to do with him. but you just don't get rid of good players.
No, it's hard. Rookie running back Seth McGowan has been got some reps with the twos with DJ Giddens missing one of these practices. Let's see here. Some big passing plays from Jones and company on Tuesday. To be fair, there were a couple plays where there probably would have been a sack or two. Like you mentioned, Bryce Betcher. Wally and Betcher both would have, I think, had some good plays there. But yeah, some good deep passing that was on target.
The one to Tyler Warren with Cam Bynum on him.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those where you beat me.
Like
sometimes they win. And
just give it to him.
Tyler Warren won.
Hunter Wohlers missed a little time with a hamstring injury. That means A.J. Halsey has gotten more reps with the first team unit. DeForest Buckner's logged some 11 on 11 now.
Not a ton.
No,
not a ton, but I thought that was notable that he
that's
had
definitely
some.
notable. Yes, exactly. Glad to see Buck in there. Like I was still stunned that he was ready to go on day one at camp too. Yeah, absolutely stunned. So I'm happy to see him taking more steps there. Like. We've said over and over and over again how important he is to the Colts defense.
Can't play defense without him.
Nope.
I don't care how good the corners are.
Nothing real new on Alec Pierce. He's still roaming the sidelines without a boot, without tape.
He's headed in the right direction.
He is headed in the right direction. So says Shane Steichen. Yes, good for him. The wide receiver 3 position, like it's between Doolin and Westbrook-Akine and Treadwell. Like I would say, Nick Westbrook-Akine has probably looked the best. Like he's had the best production.
Sounds like
three.
it from what I've
so far
observed. Yeah,
but Joey Erickson has got the best description. Is they're all 4s.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of 4s.
You have 3 4s, and right now they're number 2s.
Well, and again, if they're going to sign somebody, Keenan Allen, they better get it done because what Stephon Diggs just signed with where'd he go? Commanders. Okay,
So they'll see him in London.
And Deebo Samuel re-signed with
San Francisco.
Return to the Niners.
Yes.
So it's not like there's again, what I said with Keenan Allen, either he wants to wait another week or two and let camp, unfold
and just
again.
not deal with camp for himself. Yes.
Or he's going to re-sign with the Chargers, or he doesn't want to come here. Shane Steichen. I know Shane Steichen would love to have him here.
Yeah.
And I just, with so much sense of urgency, to not give Daniel Jones that third guy, to let everybody else be more in a comfortable position. It just doesn't feel right at all.
I know we're kind of up against it, Matt, so I won't go long. But I will say, I think if he's going to come here, they're going to have to pay for him because he's comfortable out in L.A. with the Chargers. He knows Justin Herbert out there with the Chargers in the offense. Sure, he knows Shane Steichen too, but he hasn't done with Daniel Jones. There should be less confidence with the Colts, who haven't won their division since 2014, haven't made the playoffs in the last 4 years. Like who would you rather play with, Justin Herbert or Daniel Jones?
Right.
Like it kind of comes down to that. So if you're going to play with Daniel Jones, then you need to pay him some more to get him to come out here.
And who knows what that is? $5 million, $8 million? I don't know.
Anyway.
But I wouldn't let a few $1 million endanger my season.
Make it happen. Exactly.
Because it's not my money.
So we'll see what happens exactly next week. It's never Chap's money. He always bets with my money, and
I win a lot of those.
Exactly.
You don't share your winnings.
We do appreciate you listening to the Colts Blue Zone podcast. You can listen to us every week throughout the NFL season, and plenty more to come over the next couple weeks of training camp, leading up to Game 1, of course, against Baltimore on September 13th in Lucas Oil Stadium. For Mike and Matt, I'm Dave. Take care. We'll see you next week.